This is a video of the 2024 Liberty Vindicator candidate debate. There are 5 candidates present at this debate. These are the 3 candidates for Texas State Representative, which is the incumbent, Representative Ernest Bales, the challengers, Dr. Stephen Missick and Janis Holt, and we also have the 2 candidates for District Attorney. This is Bergman and Marandino. Now, Marandino is the conservative choice. Bergman, her father is instrumental in the creation of Colony Ridge. She is married to a constable, so she's intimately involved in Colony Ridge. From the perspective of many, she's carrying the torch from her father to carry on the torch of Colony Ridge, Terranos, Houston. So if you're concerned about Colony Ridge, Terranos, Houston, and you need to know who you want to vote for, who's going to push back against the excesses and the abuse and the whole scandal of Colony Ridge, you vote for Dr. Missick for state rep, and you vote for Marandino for district attorney, and put an end to this corruption and allowing Colony Ridge to have full impunity to do whatever they want. If you want to bring accountability to Colony Ridge, vote for Dr. Missick and vote for Marandino for Attorney General. So now let's commence with the debate.
And when you love the law, you're concerned with the administration of justice. And in our county and in our nation, as you guys are all aware, over the past 4 years, things have gotten considerably worse under the Biden administration. And the challenges that we face nationwide are particularly severe here in Liberty County. As you probably know, the district attorney, who the district attorney is, their policy, their philosophy, can greatly affect your life. If you're Kyle Rittenhouse, you may face a jury for exercising your Second Amendment right. Or if you're President Trump, you may face indictment by a local district attorney because they don't want you on the ballot and they want to thwart your ability to help the citizens. The district attorney is the most serious position in our county. As you all know, we have a county within a county in Colony Ridge. Now, I think you can ask around, I can tout my qualifications, but you can read them on the web. What you need to know is you need a person who is the district attorney who will stand firm with a backbone of steel and enforce the law as it is written. I will do that. I'm committed to that. I appreciate Attorney General Paxton's endorsement, and I appreciate your vote on March 5th.
Representative Bales, we have 2 minutes to open up.
First of all, I appreciate the opportunity to be here. Appreciate you guys caring enough to come out. Sorry about being a little late, as all of my colleagues are up here. We were actually just in a forum over in East Montgomery County, but we got here just as soon as we can. So my name is Ernest Bales. I'm a state representative here in House District 18. I've had the opportunity to serve in this capacity for the last 8 years. I worked really hard to build a successful business based on integrity, doing what is right, following through, and I've served in this capacity, and I've ran my campaign just the same. I've got my wife, Courtney, who's here. She's a school teacher back at home. I've got 2 young boys, 14 and 17. I grew up in Shepherd, Texas, just right down the road. Liberty County has not been my home, but it's been my family's home for many generations. We go back over 6 generations right here in Liberty County, so I consider this, I consider myself to be as local as anyone else is, and it's been an absolute honor to serve in this capacity. I've had the opportunity to serve on the House Energy Committee. If we were our own country, we'd be the 7th in the world. Also on CRT, which is Texas Parks and Wildlife. Those are very big parts of this district. And I can tell you, I work just as hard in this capacity as I do in my daily life and in my job. I read the bills, I do the homework, and I make sure that every vote that I take is absolutely what is best for this district. Yes. I spend time having to kill as many bills as pass, or to change bills so that they don't hurt this area for the negative unintended consequence. To put things into perspective, this district consists of 17 school districts. Right down the road, HISD has 16 votes. Our school districts have 1/17. We have to make sure that we have a very effective rural voice, and that voice is heard. I've got a proven record of being able to do that, and I look forward to continuing in that capacity as your state representative this very next term.
How long do we have?
2 minutes.
2 minutes, thank you. Hi, good evening. Thank you all for coming out. Pardon us for being late. As Representative Bale said, we were in East Montgomery County. My name is Janis Holt, and I live in Silsbee, which is over in Hardin County. We are fairly new to this district, having joined this district in 2018. 2 years ago, we joined this in House District 18, excuse me. And so, why do I want to run for this position? I have been fighting for 2 decades, almost 2 decades, for our Republican values and our Republican priorities. I have worked within the Republican Party. I've been the State Republican Executive Committee member representing Senate District 3. I've served 2 terms doing that. I have served in many positions within the Republican Women, in our Hardin County Republican Women, the Texas Federation of Republican Women, and the National Federation of Republican Women. So I have been working on the grassroots side of politics for almost 2 decades, fighting for our priorities. And the reason why I want to run and why I want to be your next state representative is because I believe that I possess the experience and the fight within me to fight for your priorities here in House District 18. And I look forward to being your next state representative.
Hello, I'm Stephen Missick. I'm from Shepherd, Texas. I pastor King of Saints Church, which is in Cleveland, Texas, so Liberty and San Jacinto counties are my home. One of the things I can bring to the table is I have 30 years of military experience. I've been to Iraq twice, and I served on the border mission for 4 years. And that's one of the biggest issues we're facing as a country right now is a wide open border. I mean, it's amazing. You know, within 3 years, I think as many as, according to Dan Patrick, the Lieutenant Governor, as many as 20 million illegal aliens crossing our border. And there's also the situation of Colony Ridge turning its use of in my backyard, and I'm very concerned about things that are going there. And I've been following that problem as it's grown and developed for several years now. So I think I have some unique perspectives and experiences that I can bring to the table to help address the issues that our community is facing, and Texas is facing, our whole nation is facing. I've seen, while I was working on the border mission, I could see policies that work, and I saw policies that don't work. And we need to secure our border. It's hurting our communities. As the previous debate, which you can be online, you can watch these things. Representative Bales is talking about how one of the reasons why we have an issue with Colony Ridge is because the border is wide open. So I have military experience and experience in Christian ministry and as a chaplain, and I think that I have unique perspectives and skill sets I can bring in to help things, to help address the problems our state's facing in the hospital.
All right. We're going to move to our question and answer. We're going to move over to the district attorney's race. You'll have 1.5 minutes to answer these questions. If it's necessary in both of these races, because they are of high importance for us to have a little bit of back and forth exchange, we will allow for that tonight. Ms. Bergman, you have posted on your social media that your office has set records for cases disposed during your first 3 years in office. Can you give us a little insight?
Yes. As you've heard from everyone that has spoken tonight, there's been an immense amount of growth in our county. And it's not just growth in one particular area in the Cleveland area, it's growth across the board. And so since I've been in office, we have filed 3,568 felony cases, which that was in my first 3 years in office. If you compare those to the 3 years preceding that, there were 1,491 felony cases filed in those preceding 3 years. That's 140% growth increase in cases. So our caseload has grown 140%. And that is a testament to our local law enforcement because they are enforcing the laws and holding lawbreakers accountable, but it's also overwhelming our criminal justice system. It's overwhelming our office and it's overwhelming the courts, and our district courts have been inundated with cases. The greatest number of cases ever filed within a single year in Liberty County prior to me taking office was 825. And so that was 7 years ago. So you can imagine that we're as the Office of Court Administration, the head of that said last week when we had a conversation about it, that we're in a pickle in Liberty County because we need another court. We also disposed of 2,367 cases that were convictions and dispositions since I've been in office. In comparison to the 3 years preceding that was 1,426. So we've seen a 69 to 70% increase in cases disposed as well. Last year, we disposed of 1,149 cases.
Ms. Mary Leo, would you respond?
I would like to respond to that. I didn't mention that I was an accountant before I became a lawyer, and numbers are kind of my jam, which is kind of unusual for a lawyer. And this will illustrate, I think, very broadly why Ms. Bergman and I very much disagree on her record. I think you compare apples to apples, and if you look at Mr. Pickett's administration, the first 3 years of his administration, and I have the printouts back on the table from the Office of Court Administration for all of the terms that I'm talking about. If you want to talk about them after this, I'm happy to explain them to you. But in fact, she doesn't hold the record. Mr. Pickett does. And if you go and look at the reports from 2013 to 2016, which was his first 3 years in office, he exceeded the cases. Dispositions were 3105, and the total cases were 4165. So in fact, we are not facing a significant number of increase in cases. The disparity happened because in COVID in 2020, there was a huge drop in the cases reported. You've got to compare apples to apples, and honey, we do not get more cases without more officers, and we don't have the money for more officers, and we can't afford a first assistant who makes $160,000 when we can't even afford a second constable in precinct 1. Now, that is my concern, and that is a problem. Paper will take anything you write on it, but you need to distinguish these numbers and look at them deeply. My concern is how to try a case on a shoestring. I learned how to do that because in Liberty County, our people don't have a lot of money. We are not Montgomery County, we are not Harris County, we do not have the budget. But you need someone who has the work ethic and the principled leadership to make do and get the job done, not splashy and not falsifying statistics to make yourself feel better. You've got to do the job, and that's what I intend to do.
Ms. Bergman, you want to respond to that?
Oh, yes. So, I found myself in a predicament the last couple of weeks because I've been faced with misleading half-truths and blatant falsehoods. And so I want to address some of those. We can look at Office of Court Administration statistics. Many times those are dependent on information that's reported to them by the district clerk. We know for a number of years that information was not reported correctly. I can pull directly from our Odyssey internal system, which is what we do, and track each and every one of the cases that is filed and indictments that are processed and cases that are held. One of the Office of Court Administration statistics says that during my entire tenure in office, we have had 4 jury trials, which if you read the Bluebonnet News, you know that is incorrect. We've actually had over 30-something trials, or if you read the Vindicator, you know that we've had 4 trials in the last 6 months. And so I have statistics that are correct and right. And if you ask any member of our law enforcement community if their caseload has increased and their filings have increased and the numbers have increased in our jails, they will tell you that is a true statement. We are inundated with cases. We are hyper-funding particular portions of our criminal justice system. DPS is in Colony Ridge. We have other agencies acting in our county, and so we're hyper-funding certain portions of this system, and what that will lead to is more criminal cases. Is that not what we all want to see, that those lawbreakers are held accountable for their actions? We are doing that. We are filing cases, record numbers of cases. And so I can show you that information. I'm happy to do that. And I can show you and guarantee you that our law enforcement officers are doing their jobs and our district courts are as well.
May I please respond? Holding accountable. Yes, it is all about accountability. That's what we need to do today, is hold everybody accountable. Now, let's go through this. Half-truths, track cases, it's all the clerk's fault they reported it wrong. I'm not passing the buck. It's your responsibility as the elected official. I don't think whining gets the job done. If the reports are wrong, it's your responsibility to make sure they're right. Our funding is dependent, our grant funding is dependent on dispositions and right reporting. We have to have a 90% closure rate to even be eligible for the grant funding. Yes, our officers are doing the job right, but the difference is every defendant is titled on a felony to have it put in front of a grand jury. She's not doing that. They're filing every single case as a complaint and information, and then they have 600 dismissals. So yes, the numbers look huge. And yes, our jail is overpopulated. It's because she doesn't try jury trials. Logan Pickett tried 54 in the first 3 years of his administration. In her 3 years, they've had 21 total jury trials. That's unacceptable.
Boy. Move to state rep. Let's talk about the courts. Let's talk about issues facing Liberty County. Mr. Bales, during one of the special sessions, this last legislative session, you actually filed legislation to create a new district court for Liberty County. That effort did not go anywhere this go around, but what is your focus on helping Liberty County alleviate this situation and getting more courts in the county?
I think our judicial system and the ability to adequately and in a timely fashion be able to prosecute is huge for the taxpayers in Liberty County. I saw Judge Westhinch back there. We were able to, as a state representative, was able to do a second county court of law judge. That was important to be able to have that additional capacity. One of the reasons for the district court, we actually have one district judge who shares Liberty and Chambers County. We have the growth here. We have the numbers to sustain having 2 full-time courts. It's important that we're able to get that done. I will echo some of the OCA, the Office of Court Administration. That was an issue that we had to deal with when we first went back and did the county court of law judge. There were issues with the filings. I have nothing to do with that. I can only base off of the numbers, but the numbers were not adequate to actually, the cases that were presented and the cases that were closed here in Liberty County. So we actually had to go back and get all of that fixed so that the justification was there for the additional court. One thing additional court does, when you look at the number of inmates that we house, the 5 additional counties that Liberty County houses inmates in, and those that are over in Louisiana, that all comes with an expense. However best we can empower Liberty County to prosecute in a timely fashion so that they're not being paid for by taxpayers is a huge priority and will continue to be a huge priority. We are experiencing a ton of growth, and with that we have additional cases, and we have to empower our judicial capacity to serve those.
Mrs. Holt, how will you address the situation, help alleviate these issues for Liberty County from if you're elected to stay rep?
Sure. This situation is one that would have to be looked at very carefully. As Representative Bales just said, the growth has just expanded so rapidly in Liberty County, as well as all of House District 18, but especially in Liberty County. And so it takes time to work with the county government, with the elected officials, look at the needs, look at the budget, look at what could be done, and then passing the appropriate laws and regulations that would go along with that. So if the needs were there, then obviously we do need to make sure that we have enough judicial capacity to take care of the needs. Having an open border is one of the main reasons of Colony Ridge, which is affecting all of Liberty County. And so if the crime is increasing exponentially, then we must also be able to address it exponentially.
I guess I agree with what both Representative Bales and Janis Holt were saying. If I'm elected, then I'll see what the problems are, talk to the people, and because we need to keep our community safe, and we need to make sure that that cases are being prosecuted and criminals are taken off the street and quickly adjudicated. So if we don't have enough judges or we need another courthouse, then let's make it happen. But I think Janis is right. We're going to have a problem with Colony Ridge. That's part of the problems we have, and that is an issue that needs to be directly tackled so we can have better law enforcement, prosecute crimes, and keep our community safe.
Let's go ahead and stay with yours. We're going to come back this way this time around. Mr. Missick, you have brought up Colony Ridge a number of times here tonight. During Mr. Bell's term, he worked with Liberty County, with Cleveland ISD, with the city of Plum Grove, and addressed the issues that they felt were necessary in creating an MMD. What is your belief on that action? What will you do differently? What would you have done differently if you were state representative?
Well, it seems to me that if you have read the letter by Ken Paxton, it's like special privileges and protections were given to Colony Ridge development through this legislation. And if that's the case, then it needs to be repealed. So if they have special status or protections or empowerment through HB 4341, then I'd support repealing that. And if I was going to tackle, I think one of the first issues is they're not building this place up to code. The drainage system is failing. Just go to reduceflooding.com, you can see it yourself. There's not enough fire hydrants. It's a safety hazard. The streets are falling apart already. So there needs to be accountability. And if you're following the story, the Department of Justice has looked into that and believes that these people are being, Trey Harris is like, oh, if you don't like what I'm doing, you're racist. I love everybody. I love Hispanic people. I live in the borders, 90% Hispanic. I loved it down there. I have a lot of, friends from down there to this day. We all have people that we care about and love their Hispanic. That's not the issue. In fact, DOJ said that they're being exploited by Colony Ridge. So we need to hold them accountable for what they're doing. And one of the other things they're doing is they're selling with, what is it, the ITIN loans? They just call the number, no credit check, no background check. And they're selling land, American land, our local area to foreigners. And there's stories about a lot of land being sold to Chinese people, and we shouldn't do that. We should be selling our land to foreigners, and we need to hold John and Trey Harris accountable for how they're doing our community.
The MMD was formed at the urging of Liberty County, of Plum Grove, Cleveland ISD. That was done. That was felt that was necessary. What would you do differently? What would you have done differently if you were in this position, that position, or if you are in that position, and what would you do going forward?
Thank you. I think this is a classic case of unintended consequences. When this MMD was created, Colony Ridge already existed. It didn't get created with the MMD, but it allowed it to expand exponentially from 5-6 acres up to now 33,000 acres. That's the size of Washington, D.C. And that area, to be fair, there are some areas out there that are nice, curved, guttered streets, beautiful homes. I have a couple of friends that live out there. But if you go just around the corner, down the street, a couple miles, then it's a whole different story. And there is cartel activity out there. There is drug trafficking. There is human trafficking. I've sat and listened to people that live out there, and I've listened to the stories, and they're horrific. So we need to do something about it. The human toll that's happening there is so tragic. And they are taking advantage of people. The Harris brothers, they are taking advantage of the people that are living out there. And they're selling that land. We should not ever sell our land to illegals, ever. So we need to figure out how to stop that. But there are some things that we can do in the meantime. And once I'm elected, I will be pushing that. On March the 6th, we'll be starting work on that. Where within the system, the legal system that we have, we can actually curb some of this cash sales so that it's above board and put that disinfectant on that and shine light on that. And I will take care of that.
Mr. Beth, you worked, again, I'm going to point that out again, you worked with the school district, the county, and the city of Plum Grove with those efforts to create that MMD at their urging. Is there something you could have done differently? Or you would have done differently with that? And what can you do going forward from this point as state representative?
want to go back to how we got here. This was a huge issue, and it's still a huge issue, and it continues to grow as we have an open border. Wes Hinch, County Attorney, Judge Knight, and late John Otto all came and testified years before I was elected that this is an issue and we need help. We need for the county to have ability to regulate outside of an ETJ or outside of a municipality. We put, the MMD was actually 500 acres. You can't go back and impose that on land which had already been developed. So it was 500 acres, and we were able to give local control as much as legally possible. We actually had the language strictly in the bill that two of the commissioners were appointed by Commissioners Court, 2 by Cleveland ISD, and only 1 by the developer. It is the most restrictive MMD management district we've ever been able to pass as a state. We also put building restrictions and a lot of other things that had not been done before. With that, we were able to help give the county the tools that they needed so that they could stop approving the new development for a period of time. They were able to address and put new restrictions in place. To Commissioners Court, they never saw this coming. No one ever saw this coming. They have to publish the parameters in place, and once that developer meets those parameters, they cannot not approve that. So we were able to get $40 million additional dollars for law enforcement directly for our Colony Ridge. We've been able to help get additional funding for the school, but most importantly, we had the most extensive border security bill to stop it at its root, which is at the southern border.
Let's stay on Colony Ridge. Colony Ridge, we're going to move to Michelle. Well, let's stay on Colony Ridge. That growing area, crime rates are obviously increasing in that area, as would be any area where you probably plop down 50,000 people. What can your office do, what could the Office of the District Attorney do to help deter this in areas like, well, in the entire county, but in Colony Ridge specifically, where we're finding some issues that have taken place, where some bodies have been dumped, some other horrific crimes. I know the cartel may live in there, but whether they are actually operating in there or not in a legal capacity, that's not one. But what can be done to deter the crime in that area from the District Attorney's office?
Okay, well, I think it's kind of a two-part question. What can the district attorney do specifically with Colony Ridge, and two, just generically? I mean, I think you're probably familiar with the new provision that was passed in a special session where we now have a new penal code provision for state criminal conduct of being here present in the United States in the state of Texas illegally, and that is a Texas provision that can be enforced by a Texas prosecutor if that Texas prosecutor has the will to enforce the law. Now, right now, the Biden administration has sued us, and we're lucky we have a Gladiator and AG Paxton to deal with this, and if that comes back in a way that we're able to enforce that law, you have a commitment from me that I will enforce that law, just like President Trump has told us. I'm sorry, but we have to enforce the law. And deportation is part of that. There's a provision in there where you can deport the people that are present here illegally. I think that that's fundamental. We need to be humane about things. That's one thing. But the big thing that we can do is we can try cases. We can try cases, and Liberty County juries consistently hand out harsh punishments. There is no deterrence like the knowledge that if you come to Liberty County, you are going to be harshly punished. When I started practicing criminal defense law, inmates from Harris County came through here and they'd say, oh, in Harris County, we'd only get 15 days. Why are we having to do a year? Because we're not Harris County, we are Liberty County, and I'm ready for the defendants to say, don't go to Liberty County.
My opponent is correct about the new law that came into effect. And if we are able to enforce that law, I make the commitment that I will do so. One of the concerns that I have, though, is the first offense for that is a misdemeanor. And so we have to make sure that our misdemeanor prosecutors are on board with prosecuting that. It does not become a felony offense until someone has been convicted of the misdemeanor offense, is deported, and then re-offends back in Texas. If that happens and the feds if the decision is made that we can enforce that law, we will, my office will enforce that law. As far as dealing with the crime in Colony Ridge, I live in Cleveland, my kids go to Cleveland ISD, so we see firsthand a lot of the issues that are occurring. Right now, we are working with the ICAC task force to start bringing additional resources to our county because we've seen a rise in those types of crimes involving children in our county, especially in that area. And so we're working to combat those types of crimes. Also, there's a number of agencies in the area that are working with Operation Lone Star and trying to get grants to deal with human trafficking and drug trafficking, and they will be combating that in that area, and then on the 59 corridor, and then on Highway 90 and I-10. And so we are working to enter into MOUs so that our office can prosecute any of those crimes that occur in our county. And so there is this misconception that the district attorney's office is in control of what juries are picked and what is called to trial. And so laying the blame of what goes to trial and the number of juries that are picked on the district attorney is very disingenuous. That is at the hands of the district courts, and we are in dire need of another district court. The numbers from the OCA demand almost that we have that.
May I please respond to that?
We got 1 minute.
We do not need another district court. I don't know how loud I can say it. I don't know. I'm the only person on this stage who is in that courthouse every day. We do not need a district court. We have empty courtrooms 10 days of the month. We don't need another district court. We need people to come to work. Now, if you'll look on page 3 of 10 of the 2016 report and the 2014 report back there, what you're going to find out is in the prior administration cases, 90 days or less, 1782. Over 365 days, 484. Under this administration, over 365 days old, 640 pending cases. Less than 90 days, 699. It's not that we have an increase in cases, it's that we are not disposing of them. The reason our jail is full is because we are not closing the cases. You have to have a prosecutor sitting at a desk making a deal and getting rid of the cases instead of shipping them to Louisiana. It's costing us a fortune, guys. We cannot afford this.
May I rebut that?
Yes, ma'am, 1 minute.
All right. It's also a very disingenuous thing to say that we are not working and disposing of cases. We have disposed of almost 1,100 cases last year. You heard that, I guess that there's this misconception that we are filing information and complaints on cases and dismissing those. What happens in our system is that we immediately file an information and complaint, which is a charging document, which gives a district court jurisdiction over a certain criminal case. Once that case is indicted, the same cause number is used for that case. And so it is a misconception that my opponent likes to, I guess, throw out there. It's an untruthful statement to say that. We are working diligently every single day to dispose of cases. The jails are full because they need to be full and filled with the people that need to be there. The only way to empty them out is to either dismiss cases or to give them a deal that would not be justice. And I refuse to bend to make numbers the most important thing and to make Liberty County a place like San Francisco, New York, and Seattle, where the most important thing is to let people out on the street. The people that are in jail need to be in jail and should be there.
May I respond? They need to go to prison. We agree, they need to be locked up, but they need to go to prison, not sit in our jail.
Okay, I'm sorry.
All right. And I just want you guys to understand, everyone is entitled to have their evidence presented to a grand jury. These complaints and informations are filed, they get no bill. We have 545 dismissals under this Bergman administration. Prior to that, under Mike Little, we had 54.
Okay, well, let's move back to Ms. Bergman, and let's talk about that accusation. Are these cases being directly filed instead of going to a grand jury? You elaborate on what she said.
So what happens is, an information and complaint, it's called a direct file system. Numerous counties across the state that are in a growing situation such as ours move to a system that's like that. And information and complaint is filed, it's a charging document in each of those cases. Once the information and complaint is filed, a district court has jurisdiction over those cases to set bonds, to do all those types of things. And we also open up discovery to all of those cases to the defense attorneys. The cases still are presented to a grand jury. We still present every single case and that our office has within 90 days, if at all possible. Some of the cases take longer because there was a huge backlog in testing of drugs when I took office. And so it was taking up to 12 to 14 months when I took office to get results from a lab to test those drugs. And so we make sure that we know what substance they have because we need to know what we've charged them with and the amounts. And so these cases are presented to a grand jury. You can ask anybody that's been on one of our grand juries that they are overwhelmed with cases.
Do I have time to respond?
No, I don't.
This is a huge difference between my opponent and I. A fundamental, absolute difference between the two of us. I do not believe in the direct file system. I think it is the most inefficient, waste of time. Mike Little, under his administration, what we did was people got arrested. They came to court on Tuesday to Judge Kane's court and on Friday to the 75th. And all of the defense lawyers would be there and all the prosecutors would be there and the secretaries would be there and we would look at the cases, and if we could dispose of them immediately, we would file a complaint and information. If not, they would be put before the grand jury. What you're doing now is you've got 2 or 3 clerks and 2 or 3 secretaries shuffling paper that is wholly unnecessary. And it obfuscates all of the statistics, makes it much more difficult. And I do not believe in a direct file system. I believe that you should be doing this system in a way that is efficient and filing stuff where you are going to have to redo it unless there's agreement is pointless, fruitless, and a waste of money and time.
Let's talk about a more lighthearted situation, school choice. This past legislative session, the focus of that session by Governor Greg Abbott was passing school choice vouchers. You stood against that action repeatedly over that session, and it's caused you a little bit of grief, I think, going forward. Where do you, I guess, elaborate your stance to everyone here, why and why you felt it was necessary in response?
It's not fiscally conservative, and it's not responsible use of our tax dollars. So we fund public education number 42nd in the nation. And we continue to tout how we have a failing public education system. It's actually set up to fail from the top. It should not be that way. We have to better fund public education. We had bills that actually increased the allotment. It did teacher pay raises, did the security funding that we have to have. And there was a voucher that was actually placed on that. One of the last times in the final votes that we took, that voucher bill, the voucher component was removed from the bill. And that author, per directive from the very top of the state of Texas, removed his bill. You guys received a ton of mailers that Bales killed all of that. We never once even took a vote on that. It's my job to make sure we do what is best to represent the people of House District 18 and give the kids that need our help the most the best opportunities to succeed. Vouchers are not that answer.
Ms. Holt, you are taking the other line. In support of school choice, you have been endorsed by Governor Abbott. You've been endorsed by Senator Cruz, Sid Miller, and I think now Ken Paxton. With those endorsements, when you go to Austin, if you are elected, are you going to be beholden to them and beholden to that choice or are you beholden to the voters and the students and the educators with your choice your support of school choice?
Thank you. Very good question. I will always be beholden to the voters and the people that live in House District 18, period. I am an educator. School choice is already in existence here in Texas, and we also have education savings accounts already in Texas for certain subset of students. Parents need to be empowered to get their kids out of failing school districts. Parents need to be able to get their children into the best education system that they feel, that the parents feel is appropriate for their kids. And who better to work on school choice legislation than an educator? I've spent 2 decades in education, professionally and then on the school board. I see the issues, I know the issues, and I will fight for you in House District 18. Over 85% of the district voted to have school choice. If you represent the district, then you want school choice, and so you have to make it work, and I will fight every day for that.
Mr. Missick, where are you on school choice versus public school, and your support of which way you prefer? What do you got?
I also support school choice, and I also have worked in education. When I was earning my doctorate, I started working as a substitute, so I had flexibility, so I could work while I went and earned my doctorate. And I've worked in a lot of different districts and schools, and I've seen schools that are performing very well and some that aren't. And I think that school choice empowers the parents to set up their children for success. And it creates new and exciting opportunities. And I've seen students that are academically gifted, and I was thinking, I taught at this other school, and it's like, ooh, that student's not going to be able to realize her full potential because of the discipline problems in that school. I'm not knocking that staff. They're doing the best they can, and the teachers there, it's tremendous sacrifices. But we have to put our children first. I really think this is the best interest of our kids. Having worked in education and seen it for myself, I do support school choice. I support homeschooling. I support private and Christian schools. I also worked in teaching in the Christian school as well. And I just think other states are doing it, and I think Texas needs to work to create exciting new opportunities to set up our young people, the future, for success. I think school choice is the way to do that.
There's a lot of different directions we can go here. We fund our public education system around $6,200 a kid. The school voucher system is $10,200 per kid. The actual language excluded every kid that's currently enrolled in a private school. It also says that we're going to give that same $10,200 to every illegal that comes across the border. Homeschooling, if you do a good job and you care about your kids, you can give that kid an education second to none. We no longer have dropouts in the state of Texas. If you drop out of school, we help you with the paperwork and you now become a homeschool student. With that being said, you may have 4 kids in a broken home already on full government assistance. And this is an opportunity to receive a check for $10,200 for every one of those kids, and we want no strings attached. If you've got a Christian school, I can tell you the last thing that you need and or want is the state of Texas dictating what curriculum you will teach in that Christian school. It's not the responsible use of our state monies. In every state that we've actually implemented this in, you give that 4 to 6 years, the numbers have proven themselves. The largest tax break in history we were able to give, that will be reverted, and our taxes will increase twofold to private entities for profit.
The bill that Representative Bales mentioned is the one that was the latest one that was put forward, and that doesn't mean that that's how the legislation will end up. When you go to fight in Austin, when I go to fight in Austin for you, then I will be working to make sure that there is a fair and equitable situation across the board for our parents. We must empower our parents. They deserve to make the educational decisions for their child or children. And we must work together to make sure that that is fair and equitable and that there are not things that can slip through the cracks. I don't believe in vouchers, free money that's just going out there with no accountability at all. That's ridiculous. So we have to work together to make sure that that's not what happens.
Where are the private schools in this hardly any private schools.
No, please, we're gonna keep it up here.
I just want to say, one of the things I'm concerned about, I work in the public schools, and I think we need to support our public schools and support our teachers. And the fact of the matter is, if we have school choice, probably 85% of parents are going to elect to send their kids to the public schools. One thing that bothers me, I think this is a national problem, is we saw this with COVID, how that the schools were closed down and parents were actually able to see the curriculum. And they were displeased. So what happened in Virginia, where these parents voiced their concerns about politicization, left-wing indoctrination in the public schools, and also they thought the COVID lockdowns were draconian. And what did they do? They sent the National School Boards Association sent letters to the White House to sick the FBI. So there's a problem with left-wing indoctrination in public schools. I wish it wasn't going on, because as I was saying, I gave a talk recently, these teachers groups need to understand that half the student bodies from conservative family, half from liberal, and they just need to get politics out of it. And maybe school choice would help alleviate that situation. And also, I'll pass legislation to protect school choice and to protect homeschooling from left-wing indoctrination as well.
I'll keep this brief. I was endorsed by Governor Abbott the very last time that I ran. I was very plain and direct in stating where I stood, and I stood to protect the kids at House District 18. This was one of the last races that the governor actually endorsed in, and endorsed against me. It's right after he received a $6 million contribution from a billionaire in Pennsylvania who's one of the main investors of TikTok. And the published directive that has been given and is plainly stated, this is to be used to remove 8 members from office because they have stood in the way of vouchers, because this individual stands to gain. Follow the money. It's not what's best for our kids.
I can guarantee you this, when I am your next state representative, that I will always, always listen to the people and follow what you are desiring here in House District 18. And if over 80 to 85% of you want school choice, I will fight for it.
I agree with you. If majority, if 8 people, or 8% of people want school choice, I think that unless there's a moral issue, we should listen to what the people say and represent their desires. And I think fundamentally our biggest concern should be improving the quality of our children's education. If this is a way to do it, I'm behind it 100%. I believe it is.
Real quick.
I'll be very brief. We keep quoting the number of 85%. That was a ballot proposition on the Republican primary ballot. There has never once been a proposition which is not passed with an overwhelming majority. That is not a number which represents this district. I told the governor point blank when he and I had the conversation, you can ask a 9-year-old if he wants ice cream for dinner every night, and he will overwhelmingly say yes. Ask the question to get the answer that you need to fit your rhetoric. That's exactly what was done here.
Okay, we're gonna do one more question for both races. Speaker of the House, Dave Phelan. He has been criticized in the last year. He was recently censured by the Texas Republican Party. The Liberty County Republican Party actually did the same thing a number of months ago. Where do you stand on that stance, Mr. Missick? And how does it affect the voters? And how does that relationship affect the voters here in Liberty County or throughout the district?
I think that Dave Phelan has been failing Texas, especially Texas conservatives and Texas Republicans. There's a documentary I want to recommend everybody watch. It's called Texas Heist, put out by Texas Scorecard. You just look it up on YouTube and watch it. And what happens is the Democrats vote in a block. So one of the most left-wing Republicans goes and makes a deal with the Democrats. And they basically, even though they're the majority party, because of Dave Phelan and these under-the-table deals he's making, the Democrats control, even though they're the majority, they control the Texas State House. Yes. And he puts the Democrats in chairman positions and impedes conservative legislation. It shouldn't be that way. And then also, we all make mistakes and we need to be, considerate of other people, but to be presiding over the House and be inebriated, that's very disgraceful.
Yes.
So we should expect better and deserve better from our leaders. I think that Dave Phelan has failed us, and we need new leadership, and we need to stand up. I mean, this is a Republican primary. We need Republican legislators who are going to advance the conservative Republican agenda and represent the Republican Party and their voters in Austin. And we're not getting that right now, and it's time to get Republican names only out and have conservative warriors, Republican warriors in. Because conservatism helps all Texans. Black, white, Hispanic, every income bracket, conservatism helps and it works, and we need to advance conservatism to help all people.
I agree with everything he said. The last session, one of the priorities of the Republican Party of Texas was ban Democrat chairs. And I was in Austin, I was in the Capitol, and we were going around the Capitol, and Speaker Phelan actually moved the vote on that around so that the people wouldn't be there. But we were there anyway the next day, and he still put Democrats as chairs of some of the of some of the committees. We can't do that. We can't do that. We have the majority. We hold the House, we hold the Senate, and we hold the governor's mansion. We must keep them Republican, and we can't do it when Democrats are chairs of these committees, because that's where legislation goes to die. And we cannot continue to do this. If we have the majority, we must fight for our Republican values. I will always stand up for that. I've known Dave Phelan a very long time. I grew up in Jefferson County. There's Phelan Boulevard right in Beaumont. His family is very influential there. But he's wrong on this. He's wrong, and everybody has the right to be wrong, and he is, and he's suffering for it with two primary challengers of his own and that he has to fight for. Representative Bales has taken a lot of money from Dave Phelan, and when you take a lot of money, you know what happens. So we can't continue with Democrats as chairs of those committees.
Our Republican chairman, it's his job, and they have always supported the members. He supported every incumbent. You protect the body. I want to go back and hit a couple different things. I was actually contacted by Ms. Holt. There were two individuals that were running, and there was a large push for me to vote for the other individual. That individual is from Minnesota, and it was on marriage number 5. I don't think that best represents my conservative values, who we are here in Southeast Texas. We've had 2 of the most conservative sessions we've ever passed, and Dave was the chairman of those. Are we very close? No. I've not been appointed a chairman. I've not been appointed a vice chairman. Do I have a problem with the fact that we appoint Democratic chairman? It is a problem. We appointed, chairmen were appointed that actually had left and went to D.C. However, the best advice I was given is we respect the body and respect the process. Governor Abbott and I, we have disagreements on things, but I still respect him as a governor. And I want to tell you one thing, he is our neighbor. In Southeast Texas, we do take care of our neighbors, and he best understands the issues that we have here. On flooding, roads, and all those issues, he does understand those. Did I support Dave the first time that he ran? I did not. I supported another guy, and I paid the penalty for that. But I will tell you, we have been very effective. I mean, what thing have we not passed? We passed the most restrictive pro-life bill ever. We passed the biggest tax break ever. We passed the most restrictive border bill ever. It is by far the most conservative sessions we've ever had. So regardless of who is in that capacity, the people are able to speak.
I'm going to follow really quick with this. When you support Dave Phelan as Speaker of the House again?
We won't even have the conversation of who I'm going to support, because I don't know if I'm elected or I don't know if he's elected. We select that as a body. We don't know who's going to be brought up. I don't know if he's going to be able to survive his race or me my own. But we will make sure that I can vote for the most conservative person that's there, who will best take care of the needs of House District 18. And last time, it was not a fellow from Minnesota on his 5th marriage.
So, who you support?
There's a lot of ifs there, as Representative Bale said. If I'm there and if Dave Phelan is there, I would have to have a conversation with him and I have to have some guarantees that he's not going to put Democrats as those chairs before I would make that decision.
Well, I would not support Dave Phelan. I think we need change, and I get to know the body, and I'd find the most conservative person. Someone's going to fight for Texas conservative values, and that's the person I want to support behind. So I think we need change. We need more. Get the establishment rhinos out and get conservative champions in there and put in leadership.
Okay. We discussed new legislation was passed allowing you to deal directly with the immigration issue here in the state of Texas. As the court is today, as Liberty County Court is today, 75th District Court, 253rd District Court, and decision with decision, how will you facilitate that?
How will you handle the increase in possible cases if that is enforceable on the current court system that's already strained?
Michelle.
That's part of the job of administration of the district attorney, is to prioritize the cases. Clearly, you can't prosecute every criminal activity that occurs in a jurisdiction. You can only prosecute the ones that are brought before you with a proper case, with proper evidence. And then in doing so, you have to decide which cases you're going to actually take to trial and how you're going to dispose of them. Now, you're assuming, which is a big assumption, that we would not have the facilities to do these cases. The deportation cases are self-deportation decisions. There shouldn't be any lengthy judicial process with that because the inmate themselves has to make the decision to deport. Otherwise, it's just another normal case. So I think that part of the fundamental assumption within your question is that it's going to increase the caseload of the current judges. I don't think it will. You're going to have more police officers. I explained this. I don't know how much more I can explain it. One police officer can only work one shift and they can only arrest so many people. Until you give us more officers, there are not going to be that many more cases. And yes, I would make it a priority. I think deportation of these people is very important. I think that using the money for buses instead of a parade float is a proper priority. And yes, I would prioritize that. But you make the decisions on how to allocate resources based on, in my mind, violent crime. That's the top priority. Deportation will be a separate issue that really should not impact jury trials or regular plea bargains at all. There should be a separate process for that.
Like I stated before, my office would enforce the laws and has enforced the laws of the state of Texas. One of the concerns, as I also expressed, would be the first offense of this is a misdemeanor offense. So it doesn't become an issue for my office until someone is convicted, deported, and then re-offends and is arrested again. If that happens, we will prosecute those individuals for the crimes that they committed, as we have continued to do for all the crimes that people have committed in cases that are brought to us. We've had conversations with the sheriff because that's the agency that would be responsible for taking these folks that would be convicted under this statute to the border and dropping them off. And so I think the biggest issue we would have is not an issue with the court itself and the availability of people to prosecute those cases, but it would be the ability of our existing law enforcement officers to physically deport people. And I believe that unless the county is willing to fund that initiative, that it's not going to be something that is going to happen en masse. Would I like that to happen? Yes. Would I like our borders to be closed? Yes. Would I like the growth in our county to stop? Yes. But it's not a perfect world. But will we prosecute those and make that a priority? It will be a priority, but the most important thing is to keep our families and our communities safe.
I just want to be sure that everyone understands that the deportation provision is not prosecution. Prosecution would be for the third-degree felony offense of the second time being in the state of Texas illegally. The deportation has nothing to do with prosecution. They have to agree to self-deport. So it's two different things. You're either going to be, if you are prosecuting them, it will be for a third-degree felony offense. If you want them deported, that's a totally different process, and I just want to be certain that everyone understands that.
Real quick, DA's office, but how can the DA's office help supplement law enforcement in Liberty County?
So my office has committed hundreds of hours of our time to assisting law enforcement. Since I've taken office, I met with each agency, asked them what they needed from our office. Was it training? Was it equipment? What was that? And so one of the things that they asked me was for training. And so I inquired about what training is necessary, what training would they like to see, what training could we hold in our county to help alleviate the training budget problems. And so we have hosted over 3,000 hours of training for our local law enforcement. And so that's one of the ways that we supplement our local law enforcement budgets. We also provide body armor. It was unknown to me at the time when I took office that no constable's office had body armor that was purchased by the county. Most officers either didn't have body armor, they were using body armor that was borrowed from another agency, or they had expired body armor. And that's unacceptable to me. And so we have purchased body armor for each constable's office as the need has arisen, and for other agencies as well. We've provided less lethal devices. We've provided all of these things. When something it becomes a necessity for an agency and they're unable to provide that for themselves, they contact us and we use funding that we have available to us to purchase those things. I'm a strong supporter of law enforcement. I'm married to a law enforcement officer. If I wasn't, I would go home to a very unhappy husband. And so I will do what I can to make their job safer and better.
Well, the first thing I would do is personally answer their phone call. Because my understanding from meeting with various law enforcement agencies that aren't Precinct 6 Constable's office is that they can't get a face-to-face time with the district attorney that's been elected in our county. They have to deal with others because for some reason, the first assistant is in charge of interfacing and the elected district attorney doesn't have time to meet with law enforcement. Secondly, the training programs that include report writing and practice. I don't understand why I'm getting phone calls and Mr. Pickett's getting phone calls and Mr. Williams getting phone calls to come do the training that Mike Little and Logan Pickett used to do if they're doing all this training. I think that my opponent is being disingenuous, and I do think that fundamentally the reason I'm sitting up here is because law enforcement doesn't want an out-of-county person who looks down their nose at what she considers to be country bumpkins, who insults them and tries to indict them. They don't work well with that. We need a district attorney's office that, I'm not asking for a rubber stamp, that's not what I'm talking about, but you have to have a working relationship with law enforcement. And I think under this administration, the failed leadership has really deteriorated the relationships with law enforcement in the DA's office, and that is untenable. It's bad for our citizens, it's bad for our community, it makes everyone less safe.
I'd like to respond to that. I think that my opponent likes to make things into something that they're not. I answer my phone on Christmas Day. I answer my phone at my child's birthday. I answered 6 phone calls in the evening in the last 2 weeks from law enforcement officers that had questions. Ask the Dayton police chief. I talked to him Friday afternoon. My office is available 24/7. I have no idea what officers you've spoken with, but it's not any of the ones that call me. They all have my personal cell phone number. They all have my county cell phone number. And to say anything other than that is completely false and very disingenuous. I have a great working relationship with every agency in this county, and I'm just kind of flabbergasted that someone would get up here and say that.
Well, let's do closing remarks. Let's start with Mr. Missick, and we'll work our way back down. I got a minute.
Well, thanks for having me tonight. And it's important for us to be involved and to vote. This is a Republican primary, and I think we need to have solid, strong Republicans who are going to fight for conservatism in Austin. And as I mentioned, I've served my country. I took incoming enemy fire. I carried a weapon into Iraq, and I want to continue to serve in Austin, to serve the ideals that I fought for in Iraq, ideals that make this country great and keep Texas free and prosperous and a land of opportunity, and take care of the concerns and needs of our people. And also I want to say I am a conservative warrior. I'm pro-life, of course I'm pro-school choice, and I'm pro-Second Amendment, and our freedoms are attacked, and we have somebody that can stand up and fight for freedom of religion, freedom of speech, and our right to bear arms.
My name is Janis Holt. I am running for this position because I believe I have the most experience with the Republican values that we need to carry to Austin. I will work tirelessly every day for the residents and the citizens of House District 18. I can do this full time. I don't have to be somewhere else working to provide for my family. My husband provides for us, and I'm very grateful. So I will be a full-time. I will be in contact with you. I will set up coalitions amongst our faith community, our education community, our county government, our city governments, and I will listen and fight for you. Thank you to the Vindicator, and thank you to the city of Dayton for putting this on. It is up to you. Do you want change, or do you want more of the same? I will make the changes that are needed in House District 18, and I am dedicated to listening to you and to fighting for those values that we all hold dear. Thank you.
Once again, I appreciate the opportunity to be here, to be your state representative. I work hard. I built my business with integrity. I do exactly what I say I'm going to do, and I make sure that each and every vote that I take has your best interests at heart. I will stand up against the powers that be. I'm not going to be told how I have to vote. I've never done that, and my record has proven that. We have to make sure that we have a strong voice here, and it's with integrity. You look at campaigns, someone's truest colors typically comes out in a campaign. I've not slung mud. I've not lied about someone else's record to bring them down just so that I can be elected. Because this district, my family and my faith is stronger than that. If we're going to elect someone who is willing to do that to get elected, then we deserve the outcome of that representation. We have to make sure we have people that are solid in their values and in their faith, and will do their absolute best job to represent this district. That is a commitment I made, a commitment I kept, and I will continue doing that. Appreciate your support.
Thank you all again for being here tonight. Thanks especially to the spouses and family members of the candidates. Anyone who puts their name on the ballot and is willing to offer themselves up for service deserves, and their family members deserve, some appreciation. This is a really arduous process on everyone, and I think everyone who is on the stage tonight is to be commended for offering to serve in whatever capacity. We may have very, very many big disagreements about how things should be done, but in our hearts, I believe that we all are concerned about our county. Now, fundamentally, I'm a trial lawyer. Ms. Bergman, to my knowledge, has never tried a felony case. She's never picked a jury. She's never made an argument. I sincerely believe that the leadership that is necessary for Liberty County's District Attorney's Office to meet the challenges that lie ahead in the coming days, it is necessary to have someone with the experience in trial to lead that office into the next decade. It is a serious job. I am a serious trial lawyer, not just an administrator. She's able to do the paperwork, I'm able to do the paperwork, but I believe that the reason that we're not getting the trials done and moving the cases is simply a lack of experience on her part. Experience does matter.
I want to thank you for being here. Recently, a politician has said, you know you're losing when you're lying. And if you're lying and you're telling half-truths, you don't deserve to be in the office that you're running for. My opponent has slung mud. I refuse to do that. My mom and dad raised me to be a better person than that. My children can look at their mother and know that I'm a good person. I fight hard every single day for Liberty County. I fight hard every single day for our law enforcement officers. And I fight every day to uphold the convictions that I have as a wife, a mom, and most importantly, a child of God. I will not bend or stray from my convictions or what I know is right. And I'm okay with that. I'm proud of who I am and the work that we've done and will continue to do. And I ask for your votes to be district attorney.
I'd like to thank all of you for participating in this tonight. Real quick, there was a few candidates that had hoped to have been here or were not able to make it. Mr. B.J. Burton, Commissioner Precinct 3, Mr. Harkness. Yeah, he had 2-star duty and could not make it. Mr. Hunter and Mr. Pafford for Precinct 5 Constable, they also could not make it. Everyone else, though, either attended or we had not heard. We're not able to hear. Again, I thank all of you for addressing these questions. We'll have some time afterwards. I guess we're going to talk to the candidates. There's some materials in the back for some of the candidates, and we're welcome to get that. We'll have an election guide that comes out in the Vindicator this Thursday. It's available in print and online. You can hear from the candidates in there, and we'll have pertinent voting information. And we still have opportunities for any candidates that have not done a in-person interview to come by and sit down and do an election day. And Mr. Missick, yours is going up tomorrow. So, thank y'all. Sample ballots in the back.
Let's all join in as we begin the victory.